Welcome, welcome.
Good evening. It's now 7 o'clock on Tuesday, January 27th, 2026. Call this meeting of the Chelmsford Conservation Commission to order. My name is Carl Bischoff. I'm the chair of the commission. We will be following the published and posted agenda. This meeting is both in person and through Zoom. In the case of the Zoom not working properly, we will continue the meeting in person only. This meeting is being broadcast and recorded by Chelmsford Telemedia, and will be available on their site and on their YouTube channel. And we do have a quorum, and I don't think we have any adjustments to the agenda, so we'll jump right in. Is there anyone here who would like to speak as a citizen with any concerns for the commission? I don't see anybody. Okay, I think we're good to go. We do have a report from the planning board liaison, Mr. Chris LaValle. He sent me a note, so here's what he said. They are wrapping up public hearing for the Water District PFAS treatment facility on Orleans Street, which is the River Road facility. They are likely wrapping up the public hearing for the town meeting zoning articles, excluding the rezoning of Middlesex Mills area, which is a separate hearing. They are opening a public hearing for the town meeting zoning article for the rezoning of the Middlesex Mills area. They are opening the public hearing for the town meeting citizens petition zoning article to repeal the recent town meeting article that redefined the term family. And finally, they have an update on the Managed Growth Strategy Task Force that recently kicked off their meetings with NEMCOG and MCOG. So that's the update from the planning board liaison, Mr. Chris LaValle. So first up here on our regulatory hearings, the only regulatory hearing we have tonight is the notice of intent, which is continued from, is this right, October 28th is the last time we had the hearing? Okay. New England Power Company at 100 Ecuador Road, and we have Bridget Hilgendorf representing Vanessa, or with Vanessa Hangen-Bruslin, representing the applicant, and we are ready to hear any updates. So, good evening, and David, do we have specific things we're looking for that were changed? I think you're describing some changes that were made, so why don't you just start in with the changes?
Absolutely. So I'm Bridget Hilgenroth, VHB. Just here to provide an update on the changes. There's been a few redesigns since we were last here. Basically, the project has reduced some impacts to resource areas while still accommodating the goal of the project. The biggest change is that paved driveway loop within the substation. The new design has removed that loop in the northern portion, and instead just proposes to have the paved, yes, up on the screen here. You can see it's still paved at the entrance at that southern portion, and it has two areas for turnaround to the east and west. And so what this has done, it's basically reduced the impacts within that previously degraded riverfront. We've pulled the majority of the impervious out of there. And so with that change, we no longer have any temporary impacts to BLSF. Originally, there were some erosion controls installed. There's no longer work in that northern portion. In terms of changes within riverfront, we have reduced the permanent and temporary impacts. So for permanent, we are down to, it's about 2,166 square feet. And that's associated with one of those turnarounds in the outer edge of the riverfront area, and it's down to 16,161 square feet of temporary impacts within that riverfront, and that's reflected in the updated limit of work, the dashed line, and that includes replacing the existing substation equipment and refreshing the gravel, which is the same as the previously proposed work. Beyond that, work within the buffer zones in here is just about the same thing, refreshing the gravel. And we have a small portion of that proposed driveway access, again, all within the substation. Beyond that, there's been no changes to the stormwater design, so no updated stormwater report has been issued. What was previously proposed will accommodate this. There's been the reduction in impervious. So those are the primary changes. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. Let's see what the commission has. John, do you have any questions?
I really don't. I was good with this before, because I realized that you're doing an update, and that's what you gotta do, and it's gotta be done. People wanna turn the lights on, you gotta fix it. So I was good with it.
Okay.
I'm fine.
Bill, you're okay? Mark?
On the detention ponds, it's been a while, is there, on the storm water, you changing anything? Is it being piped, or is it just being trenches in the detention areas?
So I believe they're installing a new one further south and expanding that existing one there. Beyond that, nothing has changed since the last time. Tim, I'm not sure if there's any other stormwater updates.
Okay, so is this a redevelopment, or is this, I don't know which you'd call this. I know it's an NOI. Is this considered a redevelopment, David?
I believe so. I mean, there's not a net increase in impervious surface, correct? Or is there?
There is with the proposed paved
Okay,
driveway.
so then that's not redevelopment, that's new development, since there's an increase in impervious surface area.
So does that mean the part that was in the 100-foot buffer should be brought up to date? Because it's not a new redevelopment, because it's new?
I think it should be peer reviewed, that's my opinion.
Okay.
I mean, I have some additional questions once commission members have asked.
Okay. No, that was mine when I was reviewing at home. Okay.
Chris?
I'll be interested in our agent's, comments at this point, but I'll pass for now.
Okay. Ally?
No questions.
Peter?
Hi, Bridget, Peter. Two questions. One is, am I reading this correctly, that the proposed silt fence along the riverside, the silt fence is located in the 25-foot no disturb area?
The proposed, so in this
Is that
new
right?
design, we originally had.
I'm sorry, can you come up to this one
Oh,
here?
yeah,
Because
sure.
there is a microphone there,
Sorry
and I
about
think
that.
the cameras will be better.
Yeah, absolutely. So originally, the limit of work was this substation perimeter, and now this is the new limit of work. I think if you go to the next slide, it might show.
Oh, okay.
Or next page, it might show erosion controls. Yes. So here, these sort of open circles, this shows where our new erosion controls are being
Oh.
installed. So this is the new limit, we're no longer going all the way into that buffer on the north end. So the erosion controls have been adjusted accordingly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you know what, okay, got it. I saw the word silt fence by the other line. That's okay, my mistake.
Got it.
And then my main question, can you describe how the proposal meets the Wetland Protection Act rules for work in a degraded riverfront area?
Yeah, sure. So it's primarily temporary impacts. I know the question that came up last time was for work in the previously degraded riverfront, we need to provide that improvement. Here, with the removed impervious, all the excess impervious that was originally proposed, by maintaining the stormwater, we should be improving the conditions in this area within the riverfront.
And no plans for immediately, on the strip of land that's, let's just say within the 50-foot or 100-foot wetland buffer, 50, 100 feet back from the river.
Yep.
Are you, that's outside the limit of work, so there's no construction in that, say, 100-foot, well, gotta be careful, the 100-foot buffer comes into the structures, but let's say 50-foot away from the river, no disturbance on that first 50 feet?
So yeah, on this, I believe it's the eastern side, this is
Yeah.
wetland and associated buffers.
Okay.
And then here to the north, that's the river being referenced, so we're no longer, this is the 50-foot buffer. We're no
Right.
longer proposing any work in there. It was originally just refreshing the existing gravel. Now,
Right.
this portion here in the north is refreshing the existing gravel within the 100-foot buffer. And then down in this corner here,
Yeah,
southeast, again, replacing some existing equipment, refreshing gravel, and there is a portion of impervious from this access. And we did have a portion within the 100-foot buffer
Right.
zone previously as well.
so the engineering team and the contractor everyone, you can stay out of that first 50 feet from the river?
From the river,
Yeah,
yes, that is the intent with the proposed.
interesting. Well, that's a significant change, actually, for the better. All right, and then I'm still curious, so so compliance with the standard for degraded riverfront then, your plan is a little bit away from the river, but basically the stormwater changes that you described.
Correct.
That is the plan.
Yes.
Okay.
And we've done our best to reduce the impervious in there by limiting it to this outer portion.
Okay. David, you next in line?
Yes. So I still want to make sure that I understand, Bridget. So saying that the proposed bituminous concrete driveway, it says both interior substation driveway and coming in from Lowell, is this all new, impervious pavement? I'm still a little bit confused about that.
Yes, it's currently outside of the substation where it crosses from Lowell. It's
Yes,
currently
down
gravel.
here.
It's currently a gravel maintained access. I believe it's gravel. It may be, I'm not sure if it's gravel or dirt, but it's definitely maintained.
Okay, so it's proposed to be all now bituminous concrete going all the way, well, in Chelmsford, going all the way from this point, all the way up into this interior part.
Correct.
That's all gonna be now. It's currently gravel. It's all going to now be bituminous concrete. So like this area up here, this is the 200 riverfront area line right here, this area up here, that's currently gravel.
Yes,
So that's now going to become impervious surface. I mean, it's going to become more degraded. I mean, I think you could say that, is existing gravel, it's currently degraded, but now it's going to become bituminous concrete, it's going to be more degraded. So my interpretation of the riverfront area regulations says that there needs to be some kind of mitigation done in that kind of a situation. Another question is, so like in this area up here and these areas down here, what is being proposed there in the riverfront area? Is that just like a temporary disturbance? What is that?
we've quantified that as temporary. There's existing equipment there, and it's being replaced in kind in the same locations.
Okay. So again, in my opinion, I think the issues here are, number one, with all of that new impervious surface, the bituminous concrete roadway and driveway, I think, it is considered new development. I think, the commission's, practice has been to have the stormwater peer reviewed. I think that should be done in this case as well. And then the second thing is, I think that there needs to be some kind of mitigation done for the increase in degraded riverfront area up here. We talked, last hearing, we talked a little bit about maybe doing some invasive management along the river. I think we heard that really weren't willing to consider that. But that's, there are other options, usually, the most common option, I think, is to do some kind of restoration, like do some kind of restoration planting of, an equivalent area. I'm not sure off the top of my head what the surface area is of this pavement, but to do some sort of, permanent plantings, native vegetation. That's pretty typically what's done for improvements in degraded riverfront area. So those are my two issues.
Okay, thanks. Anyone have any further comments or follow-up on anything? Peter?
Yeah, if I could just comment, I had a chance to see water quality measurements in the brook right there that have been taken by this outfit we're talking to, Oars. And I was a little bit surprised. The quality of the water in that channelized brook is pretty good, actually, relative to supporting fish. So I think that's one reason I would support this discussion of some sort of mitigation to meet that wetland protection requirement on degraded riverfront. Because it is, I look at it, it looks like sort of a degraded channel that's been channelized. You think of it as not that great a resource, but the water quality data say it's not too bad, which surprised me.
Okay. So David's recommending a peer review for the stormwater.
And we had previously gone out for a proposal on that, and got one back. It was put on hold pending the revisions, so It's probably not that difficult for the peer reviewer to just, modify it to address the current plan. Might even be able to have it ready for the next meeting, certainly, ask about that.
And what are they gonna be looking for? What's their scope?
Typical review of stormwater, compliance with the stormwater standards. I think this is pretty simple and straightforward in this case. There's an addition to one basin that's being proposed and one new basin, if I understand that correctly.
Yes,
What,
if you go back up, yeah.
keep going, oops,
Nope. Or to the next one, might show grading on the second page.
must be the next one, huh? There we go.
Yeah, so some regrading in that existing basin there.
And then this
the
new
creation.
basin down
Yes.
here. And that will help DPW as well in their review, because I think they need to issue a land disturbance permit. What is the total amount? Is it 20,000 square feet?
I do believe it's at that higher threshold. I
Yes.
don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
So DPW will, at the very least, need to issue a minor land disturbance permit, and they will have liked to see that it's been peer reviewed during the hearing by the commission.
Okay.
Well, plus it's technically new development, not
Yeah.
redevelopment.
Yeah.
We tend to require it.
Yeah,
For
that's
new-
our practice. So I'm a little confused though, David. You said at because I don't remember the last meeting that well. Did we already ask a peer reviewer to review this or to give us a
To give a proposal based
Proposal,
on
okay.
the initially submitted
Okay.
plan. They didn't go through with it because
That's-
I indicated that the plans would be revised.
So what you're saying is that the proposal that they made will almost certainly be nearly the same with these changes?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Now, sort of, maybe a little bit of a wrinkle is that it also included review of the portion that's in Lowell. And I gather the Lowell Commission has shown no interest in getting a peer review, but,
I was not at the first hearing, but they didn't request one, correct?
I'm Tim Sullivan of National Grid, for the record. That's correct. We've been in front of Lowell, and they have, at this point, not requested a peer review for any of the
okay,
stormwater
so,
items.
again, I don't think it makes much sense for the peer reviewer to look at only what's in Chelmsford. I can clarify that with him, but, I mean, do you have any issues with doing that peer review in the Lowell?
No. I mean, it's one system.
Yes.
It's going to operate that way. So, from a practical standpoint, I believe they would have to review it, the whole design.
Yes, yes.
And DPW doesn't wanna look at it?
No, they had previously indicated that they wanted the commission to hire an outside peer reviewer.
They're not prepared to look at it, or?
Not in terms of doing the peer review. I mean, once the application for a land disturbance permit is submitted, they'll look at the commission's order of conditions, they'll look at the commission's peer reviewer report, but they did not want to do their own peer review on this.
Okay, so I think we're at a point where we're looking to add a proposal to approve a peer review and to continue the meeting and the hearing until that is closed, and we can, I don't think there'll be any issues here, but,
No, I don't think there will be. And I think in terms of the mitigation for the work in the degraded riverfront area, I think just maybe doing a restoration plan, a planning plan, maybe up in this area. I don't, this is the existing tree line, right?
Yes.
I forget, Bridget, what is this? Is this pretty much just grass now, or?
I believe there might be a small slope on the outside of the substation, but I do think it's vegetated beyond that.
But I think
And it
just,
goes eventually into the roadway.
I mean, there's certainly a room enough somewhere in the riverfront area to do an equivalently sized restoration.
equivalent to the pavement? To
Yeah, the equivalent area, the
impervious?
equivalent service area. I mean, it looks like this would work up here, that area, but, it's up to you to decide.
And David, when you say restoration, what extent are you envisioning?
I think primarily like some native shrubs. You know, I think consultation with a botanist, you know, to make sure what would grow there, you know, based on, you know, existing conditions and like hydrology. You know, I don't know if, say, high bush blueberry would grow there. I mean, they don't necessarily have to be wetland plants, but I think they do need to be native. I mean, it should be pretty simple to just draw up something for that small area.
Yeah, so if you wouldn't mind, we did go look after we spoke the last meeting. So I guess to clarify where we are right now is we've left the stormwater improvements as they were with the original design. So we did not pull those back commensurate with pulling back the design. So we do have, I guess, you know, additional stormwater improvements. So we do feel like we're not just mitigating our impact, we're making we're taking, you know, some of the existing impervious that was probably never treated and making sure all that gets treated as well. So we do feel like there's an improvement beyond what we're required to do on the stormwater side. I did go out there with our forester, you know, to look at particularly the area, you know, along the river that you had referenced the other, you know, the last hearing, David.
For the invasive
And,
management.
exactly, yeah. And the challenge that we have is that we have a lot of assets back there. So we have overhead that leaves, and we also have underground that leaves, and then we have underground, the area that you just mentioned that comes right along the outside of the fence.
Yeah.
And so that kind of limits what we can plant, because if you figure we're overhead, we're gonna wanna keep everything maintained underneath those lines. And then underground, you never know, we're maybe gonna have to go in there and access it. So the challenge we have with citing the, you know, mitigation areas, it kinda has to be there in perpetuity. And, if, you know, I can certainly look into areas of this size that
I mean,
gives
what,
us-
I mean, right here, right next to it. I
Yeah.
mean, what, is there anything that looks like there's wrong?
I'm saying I know there's underground right here.
Oh, there's underground.
There's underground right in that corridor. So somewhere on the parcel, you know, if we're talking about something, you know, the last time we were talking about that whole loop, so obviously that's a lot larger of an area to consider. So I can go back and look for something that's more, you know, in line with this new design and see if we can find a spot that seems like it's gonna work for, basically for.
Well, if it turns out that there's really no feasible area in the riverfront area, I think doing something in the buffer zone would be amenable as well.
Okay.
You know, maybe over in this area, you know, certainly got plenty of buffer zone over here. I think, in my opinion, that would satisfy the regulations just as much.
Okay. Yeah, if you can, I mean, if you look, you know, you can see all these OHs
Yeah.
are over, OHWs
Yeah,
or overhead
wow.
wires, so they're crisscrossing just about.
Yeah, I mean, it's-
just about everywhere. So hopefully we can find a spot that, you know, that works and that we think will, you know, be something that we can
Okay.
make sure everyone knows what it is, and, you know, 10 or 15 years from now, somebody doesn't.
But again, just to qualify in the stormwater, I mean, the stormwater is something we have to comply with anyway under stormwater. You know, particularly now where since you're increasing impervious surface, this is new development, so really you have to comply, you know, with a new development stormwater regs. And, you know, that's really independent of the performance standards for work in degraded riverfront area. You know, DEP tells me, you know, all the time, that's a common mistake applicants make, is confusing improvements in stormwater to improvements in the work in a degraded riverfront area.
Yeah, I hear, I think I follow you. I think the point I was trying to make was that we were doing what's required for us under the stormwater regulations.
Yeah.
Then we're doing something on top of that because we were leaving treatment for the whole, you know, the whole loop around the back is still in the design. So the peer reviewer is gonna review the exact same stormwater plan that we
Yes.
submitted.
Yeah.
We've just pared down the impact. So if that person asks why there's more compensation than maybe, you know, would be required, that's why, where that's coming from.
Okay, which certainly you can do that. You can do more, that's required. But yeah, no, I certainly think the commission should be flexible in terms of where a mitigation a restoration mitigation should go. I mean, it's.
You don't have a lot of choices.
Yeah, I mean, you really get an impression of how busy the site is.
It's a substation. There's
Yeah.
overhead and underground.
Yeah,
You just can't go digging.
understood.
Yep.
Understood.
And it's probably gonna be upgraded again in Bridget's lifetime.
Everybody wants their lights on. Can anything be done on the Lowell side?
The mitigation could be there, yeah.
I mean,
Would be okay
if,
with that, I think.
Are you still before Lowell?
Yes.
You're still open
I mean,
there. I'd be satisfied if they said they were gonna do it in Lowell, if that meant.
I mean, you got
David,
4 retention areas here.
There's not a lot
on
of
this
land there,
plan.
though.
So, I mean, can something be moved to this section where there's nothing there?
I mean, if Lowell is agreeable to that, yeah, I think this commission should be as well. I don't know if you're comfortable, or how you're comfortable bringing that up with them. You know,
Question, but we don't really have authority over jurisdiction in Lowell. Would our permit would that be a binding permit condition? Chelmsford issues a permit under our bylaws for work in Lowell?
well, I think.
Does that work?
You know, I think it all depends on whether the applicant is agreeable or not. If the applicant is agreeable and the Lowell Commission is agreeable, I think we would need to see it shown on a plan. And then the Chelmsford order of conditions could just reference that plan. You know, again, as long as the Lowell Commission is good.
I'm hopeful we can find a spot that's in,
Okay.
that's in Chelmsford. If it comes to that, we'll certainly, we'll
That'd be
certainly
good.
have that
That'd
discussion.
be a better solution. Okay.
Appreciate doing the best you can.
All right, so I'm
I
looking,
got a question. So Carl, I mean, how much time do we think we need to, to get the peer review done and kind of have you look into, addressing the mitigation? How much time do we need? I mean, I know our next meeting that we have is on February 10th. Will we have enough time to wrap it all up by then, or is that too aggressive?
Well, I don't know for sure about the peer review. Yeah, since they've already looked at it, hopefully they can just, hit the ground running on this one, but I don't know what their workload is like. All I can do is ask.
Okay.
so worst case, the best case would be the February 10th meeting.
Yeah.
Worst case probably would be the meeting after, which would be the 24th.
Yeah, and again, just to emphasize, I don't see any stopper issues here.
Yeah.
It's all pretty routine,
But this will also
straightforward,
help
routine.
DPW, as you said.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
What is it peer review for this cost? Not that it matters to,
I think
Conservation
it
issue.
was, did I forward that to you, Bridget?
Don't think so. I think
Curious.
we let you know that the changes were
Let
happening
me,
before that.
I think I have that. Maybe I never got a peer review back, or a proposal back. I thought I did. I'll have to go back and double check. I would estimate it's on the order of several $1,000s, like, maybe 4,000, something like that. That's just a ballpark.
I'm just curious. Thank you.
Okay,
I'm going to make
Leave it
a,
open?
yeah, well, I'll make a motion that we continue this hearing until our next meeting, February 10th, 2026. And again, my hope is that we could wrap it all up when we come back then and be done,
Yeah,
Second.
and that would be with a peer review,
yeah, yeah.
as proposed. Okay.
Yeah,
So
and I
motion,
think a standard order of conditions at this point.
yep. Okay, motion from Chris,
Second.
second from Peter. All in favor?
All right,
All right.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate the improvement, the changes.
Appreciate keeping the lights on.
Yeah.
So, David, how does this file,
We're gonna pay for that peer review.
what is determination, what is
come
the,
to that.
is this a
No,
redevelopment
I'm
or
not
is,
picking up.
no?
It's new. It's good from the standpoint of compliance with the stormwater standards. It's considered new development.
Does it require anything different by the applicant, or it's just, everything's the same?
I'm sorry.
The applicant have to file anything different on this, or just,
They did. They filed a revised notice of intent form with DEP, along with the plans.
Is
So-
that your, pack?
No, that was here when I.
Oh, okay.
No, that's my junk.
Oh, okay.
Good.
I think it always was considered new development
Oh.
from the standpoint of.
It's just the
stormwater.
pavement is new development?
And an increase in impervious surface, yeah. I mean, they're,
They got 4 retention areas on this property.
well, but they're taking an existing gravel road and they're paving it. I mean, any applicant that does that, we typically require a peer review.
I understand
We're,
that,
we,
but
yeah, we continue the hearing, so let's keep moving forward. So discussion, continual business. We want to talk about the wetland bylaw and regs review subcommittee recommendation to submit a warrant article for the Springtown meeting amending the Chelmsford wetlands bylaw to add a regulatory 100-foot buffer zone to bordering lands subject to flooding, which is also known as the 100-year floodplain. David, do you want to, or Peter or Chris, do you want to give a summary?
I certainly can. So, the Wetland Bylaw and Regulations Review Subcommittee has held several meetings. It talked about, proposed changes to both the bylaw and the regulations. Very, very high among the changes recommended were adding a 100-foot regulatory buffer zone to bordering land subject to flooding, AKA the 100-year floodplain, meaning that anything proposed within 100 feet of the 100-year floodplain needs some kind of a filing with the Conservation Commission. It's just and the performance standards just nominally are going to be the same for the other buffer zones, like buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands, buffer zone to inland bank. There's nothing just right off the bat that's new that's being proposed for the buffer zone. It's just now going to be reviewed. Any activity in the buffer zone to the floodplain will be reviewed. And as time goes on, I mean, I certainly already have some ideas of what should be looked at in that kind of a filing, what sort of, data the commission needs. But, over time, I think that will develop more. I think, most of the same exemptions will apply, like we now have an exemption for fences in the buffer zone. I think that certainly will apply. People already mowing the buffer zone of the floodplain, that will continue to be an exemption. There's probably a lot of the floodplain itself is being mowed. So it'll just give the, I will mention that I think that we do have an example of a recent project where I think this would have provided some additional review, and that was Hildreth, because there was some work, some grading for the road in the 100-foot buffer zone to bordering land subject to flooding. There also, I think, might have been some stormwater management infrastructure in the buffer zone. At the end of the day, it may not have made a change to the plans, but it would have been giving the commission the opportunity to do a little bit more review and, analysis of impacts.
Do other towns have this? Anybody
Yep.
else?
A lot of towns.
Yep.
It's probably, it's now the Mass Association of Conservation Commissioners, in their standard template that they have developed over the last 10 or 15 years, they have a buffer zone for the floodplain now.
Yeah.
what
So,
are the towns?
I mean,
Lancaster, where I came from, had that, had a buffer zone for the floodplain.
What is it now?
They can go right up to the edge of the
Buffer zone.
floodplain.
Yeah, exactly. So there's no buffer zone
Right,
for the floodplain.
like, so
We have a buffer zone on bordering vegetated wetlands.
If I could jump in, John, the reason one of the reasons the subcommittee settled on this is the fact that the floodplains are changing. The 100-year floodplain is changing as it rains harder. And you can go down that rabbit hole of trying to redefine the floodplain. But, Chris, I can't remember if you were, somebody suggested, other communities have addressed that. Rather than trying to recalculate what the hell is a 100-year flood, because that's what we're supposed to pay attention to. that's a lot of work. I mean, the town spent $200,000 to look at the floodplain for what, 3 small watersheds, if you remember that discussion. So we realize we're not gonna re-examine the floodplain in the whole town, but at the same time, we know that the water is, you know, what happens once every 100 years is happening more. So we're supposed to protect against flooding. I think we landed on this as a simple
Yeah, I mean, I think it's.
way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like, we looked at it as increasingly year by year, flooding becomes more and more a problem for our town and many other towns in the Commonwealth, right? So flooding's a problem. So is there something that we can do that maybe helps mitigate the flooding? And so what this would do was it would just increase our kind of oversight. So now, you know, we have the actual flood area, the zone, we have jurisdiction on that. So anybody's gonna
That's
do work
federal,
there. Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, and that's
That's
what we
all
have now.
federal, right?
That's how the flood zones are determined, yes, by the.
Yeah, that's how it's all determined, is federal.
Exactly.
So
But
let
any
the feds
work-
handle it.
But no, but the work, if somebody was to come along and propose some sort of work in our, like, a flood zone in our town, they have to come to us for a permit. So what we would be doing is we'd be expanding our oversight of jurisdiction. So we'd go beyond where that line was, we'd go out 100 feet. So if somebody's gonna put a building in or do something, now if it was minimal, like mowing lawn and doing stuff like that, that's all exempt. But if there was a significant project coming in, who knows what, lots of homes or stuff like
So right
that.
now, if somebody comes in, the floodplain's on their property, we look at it.
Yeah.
But if this, if this, we prove this, if there's a floodplain across the street, anything from 100 feet onto
100
your
feet.
land
Yeah,
becomes,
The buffer would come under our
We get to
jurisdiction.
look at it.
We would have input on like what they're gonna do.
I don't think we need it.
I can give another potential example that is what I think of, like, right now, let's say the floodplain comes onto a property, whether it be commercial or residential, that somebody could put like a 10-foot high retaining wall, and fill in back of it could go all the way up to, right to the edge of the floodplain. You know, a 10-foot high retaining wall, and the commission would not have to approve that at all. That kind of a project, and, you know, that may be a little bit unusual, but I think it's a good example. That kind of a project may very well have an impact on the function of the floodplain, you know, and it could have adverse impacts. I think that's something that is legitimate for the commission to look at.
The other thing is, we spent a number of meetings looking at all of our regs, and this is the only thing that we came up with that we said we think is worth right now.
Well, the only change in
From-
the bylaw.
For bylaw, I should say
Yes.
for bylaw.
Yeah.
We do have some other.
this has
reg-
to go before,
Yeah,
Yes,
we
it's
gotta
our
go in
town.
front of town meeting,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
you know, people might be asking the same questions at town meeting.
I don't think they understand.
They might not.
They're not gonna understand.
Agree.
I'll guarantee it.
Yeah.
They're not gonna know what they're voting on.
Carl, did we run this through our town engineers?
No, and the only thing is we've asked the town council to come up with the wording,
Yeah.
which I don't know if we've got that wording yet.
I told them to go ahead and repair it.
But no, the answer is no to the engineers. That's an interesting,
Well, the reason I ask, you remember the subcommittee, some of the conversation, John, was, hey, DPW and Concom, and to some extent Planning Board, I guess, share responsibility to address flood problems. And we know we're having more flood problems, and it's gonna continue. So we started down this process by asking the question, what's Concom's role? I mean, obviously, if there's a flood problem and there's a big study, that tends to be DPW, not us, but what's our role? And this is what, I think why we landed on this, to sort of dovetail with other efforts that the town is doing largely through DPW, you know, fixing culverts and, you know, the stuff they're doing.
so this
So maybe we
strictly is
should-
looking at it, there's no,
Well, it's a buffer zone project, it's just well, many of the projects that come into us for review all the time, they're like buffer zone projects. They're not actually in the wetlands per se, right? They're not hitting the stream or the brook or the pond, but they're in a buffer zone. So this would be, we now have more, these buffer zone projects that come in where somebody's putting a building in and, you know, structures, road, whatever it is, something's going on in the buffer zone, they'd have to come into us, and we would, have a hearing on it, take input, and, approve or deny.
I think it's all unnecessary, in my opinion.
Well, the thing is what we were thinking was that in that buffer zone, activities and projects and work could be happening there that could adversely impact the flood zone itself. So kind of be in the neighboring area. So we're trying to protect that so it doesn't, hurt the flood zone itself.
We're regulating it as we sit here. I think it's all unnecessary. I don't think the town meeting's gonna know what they're voting on, number one,
Yeah.
all right? That's my opinion.
To your point, is that something that we could address in real time here and not have to go in front of town meeting for, like on a case-by-case basis without having to expand our scope out into that?
It wouldn't work that way because the applicant would never even come before us if they had no other reason to come before us other than being in the 100-foot flood zone. Or the 100-foot buffer.
100-year.
Well, no, you got
100-year,
So you
not
got
the 100 foot.
You got the flood zone itself, and then we would be adding a buffer zone to that, going out past wherever that 100-year flood zone was.
I think the critical point, if we were trying to put this in a logical sequence, the 100-year zones, so basically the forecast of rainfall between now and 2070 is 30% more rainfall by 2070 with a steady increase. So we know, and our regulation is to regulate a 100-foot flood zone. But that's based on the old historical data.
Regulate 100-year flood zone.
Thank you. 100-year rain flood zone, however. The point is, those 100-year, once every 100-year calculations already, and I haven't seen math, but it's already something like once every 50 years. And as time goes forward, it's going to happen like more frequency. So the hardcore approach to this, which nobody has the appetite for, I'll bet, I don't, is to remap the town and figure out where that 100-year flood zone is, or change the Wetland Protection Act that says you're supposed to protect the 100-year flood zone. So that's the basis of the whole thing.
It's done by the federal government.
Yeah, but they look to us to enforce it. and
No,
to
but the
Well,
floodplain
Yeah,
is
they
done by
define
the
it. They
federal
define it.
government.
You're right, they define it, yeah.
They define it.
No,
So
that-
let's just stay with the federal government rules.
That's a good argument, but the federal government doesn't account for the increased rainfall. So, hang on. We approve of a project that's gonna be a house, a building, whatever, that's gonna sit there for 50 years. We know, depending on the elevations, that's the key, we know that in 5, 10, 15 years, the town's gonna be getting phone calls saying, hey, come spend some money and fix the flooding, because you approved for this building, but it's in essentially the wrong place. That's the problem that we're trying to avoid.
But doesn't that in turn create more problems for us because we approved it?
No, if we were to have this regulation, this bylaw, it would give us the authority to review those projects and approve, condition, or deny based on they're now in front of us. I think what this is gonna do is add, it's not gonna be a big number, it's gonna be a small number, but it's the ones that are important of projects that will be in front of us that wouldn't have been in front of us. I mean, some of them will already be there for a wetland reason, a buffer zone or whatever. But in this case, they'll be like, oh, you're also doing the work inside the 100-foot buffer of the floodplain. And now we get to say, no, you really shouldn't build that wall in that 100-foot, because that's just gonna create problems for your neighbor.
Right,
or-
exactly. Instead of water going into the flood zone where it's supposed to go, it may not go there. It may go onto the neighbor's
And that
property
flood
or
zone
into a
could-
road or something.
Yeah, it
I
could
mean, I'd
expand.
like to get an answer to John on his question about how many towns out there have this now. My impression was that like most of the towns have this, that we're like
I'd like
the
to know
odd
the
outliers.
towns.
But I think we should know that, and, because it's a good question,
No, it
and
is.
if we go to town meeting, that'd probably be a question
Yep.
we'd get.
That's what,
My impression is not that it's that many.
Really? I think we should find out.
I
No,
did look at it once, and I thought, it's a few, it's more than a handful, but it's not like, it's not a majority.
But I think MACC does recommend.
But they are recommending.
Oh, they do recommend it for sure.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, because it's been in that.
But
in the
I also
model
think
bylaw.
John makes a good point that it's hard to explain. This
It's-
is, it's hard to,
Well, it increases our kind of jurisdiction. I mean, it pushes our jurisdiction out another,
Our
100 feet.
jurisdiction went out the window a few meetings ago. All right? What I'm trying to say is, I think this is overregulation, and I think it's unnecessary to bring this to a body of people who don't even know what we're talking about. That's my opinion, and everybody can have their opinion. Same as New England Power.
so let's do this. Let's see if we can come up with some idea of how many in the state have this. If we don't get it to this meeting, we can get it to the next fall
I
time.
mean, honestly, I don't think it's like do or die that we have to do this immediately.
No.
We kind of looked, we did we took just backing up, the committee went out, we looked at our bylaw, we looked at, I think we looked at a couple of other bylaws, and then we took a look at this Mass Association of Commissions standard bylaw that they recommend to everybody to have.
Where were the deltas?
And then we kind of look what's different, and then we looked at our regs, and we met a few times, and this was like the one thing we thought that we might want to consider, but we can do more homework on it. I think, I'd feel better if we all were kind of on the same page, if possible, go in front of town meeting.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be nice to address your concerns, John.
And Chris and John, to your point, Evan Belansky he took a look at the idea and he wrote a nice email, a week or two ago, I'm sure.
Just a couple
we all
days
got it.
ago, actually.
And he asked if we had a slide deck to explain this to town meeting, which got me thinking about John's point. And there's
Yeah.
lots of ways one could explain it, but we need to figure out what makes sense so people can judge it.
If you think
Well, you
about
have to look at it as, people are gonna look at it as, it's an overreach from us,
Yep,
or, oh, that's a good
Yeah.
idea, because now we have the opportunity, it's not hurting the applicant that comes in to us,
Right.
but we're looking at the bigger picture.
Right,
that's
So it's how
correct.
it's all
Right.
proposed,
That's
right.
and how it's
To
presented.
me, it was more like protecting the neighbors. When the neighbors come in on some of these projects, very often our hands are tied. We just can't do anything to
And
help
we
them.
hear a lot of concerns about flooding.
And we hear flooding all the
Certainly
time.
heard that on Hildreth,
Yeah,
no
and-
doubt
Yeah,
about
our
it.
Well,
hands are
and we hear
tied
a
a
lot
lot
of
of
concerns about flooding outside of the hearings.
right.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people that come into the DPW.
I mean, I think
Town
it's,
manager.
it's, the commission can truthfully say, this is not gonna impact your average,
No.
homeowner.
No.
In terms of what they wanna do on their property. I mean, maybe if they wanna put in like an ADU. On the other hand, I just have been asked to sign off on a building permit application that's in the floodplain itself for an ADU. It's in riverfront area, and it's in the buffer zone.
So how'd you do?
So what's that?
How'd you do?
Well, I told them
Huh?
we need to
How'd
hire
you do?
somebody and
Huh?
delineate the wetland resource areas.
But that's a good point, because that's kind of what I was thinking when the subcommittee met. Evan's estimate was maximum potential ADUs are 3,000. He doesn't think it'll be that much.
It's like the
But the
worst.
point is, I think we're gonna see a lot of ADUs, and I think a lot of people with lots like mine are gonna wanna shove one in, and they're gonna look at the existing FEMA maps, which are old data, and say, oh, it's not in the 100-year flood, it's in the 500-year flood. That's okay, but then it's gonna be flooding every 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
All right, I got
Think
one
about.
question. So the ADU that just came in front of you, does that bypass us?
Oh, no, they'll have to do a filing.
They're gonna have to come
They gotta
in,
do a filing, yeah.
they're gonna have to do a filing. And well, you said it's in the floodplain,
It is
in the 50-foot no build?
It's in the actual floodplain itself.
Well, it's in the wetland, you said, or in the buffer.
Well, it's in the buffer zone, it's in the riverfront area, so
In a
there's.
200-foot riverfront?
What's that?
200-foot riverfront,
Yeah,
which you can you can go 100-foot if you show a hardship and everything else. It's all about ADUs and everything else.
How does this affect undersized lots that will small lots and that didn't require being so stringent on, sometimes the people come with something that was undersized.
Yes, some of the setbacks don't apply for smaller lots, like
Right.
the no-build setback, and the no impervious setback. I would say just nominally, the same buffer zone exemptions apply. Again, the commission could come up with differences, but right now, the 25-foot no disturb would apply, the 30-foot no impervious, and the 50-foot no build, except, where the exemptions come in, like the smaller size lots and, structures that were built before the enactment of the bylaw. Again, I don't see it really, having, an impact on the average property owner other than, the buffer zone restrictions that already apply.
Well, the impact is for the average property owner to slow down a little bit and think about flooding. And we can certainly approve of stuff, but the idea is it's just a caution light, in the regulations. Be careful.
I say we hold on it. I want it to be a more consistent, like Chris said, and get the story clean and see what it's a good question about the other towns.
There's a lot of questions with
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
There's too many for, I
It's
think.
gonna add engineering costs, isn't it, to an applicant?
You know what?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would probably double their cost.
Well, I think it depends on what they want to do. Again, if they
It
just.
depends on what they want to do. If they want to mow some, grass or put up a shed or something.
Well,
Or a
there's a
deck.
cost,
You
just,
know.
there'll be a cost just coming before us that they wouldn't normally have. If they're,
Well, yeah, there'd be like an
It's,
application.
it's like anything, but what's the benefit? If we could stop a project that was really gonna have, really mess up and cause a lot of flooding and ruin a neighborhood, and gave us something, the regulatory power to do it, that might be worth the benefit of it.
Like a deck or a shed that's more than 50 feet from the floodplain, the flood zone, they wouldn't have to come before us. That's the existing buffer zone exemptions.
I think this is over-regulation.
I wouldn't have my pool in my yard if this was the.
I'd still have my pool.
I wouldn't.
I would.
It's not an exemption.
No, I'd still have it, Mark.
All right, then let's,
I'll drop by, Mark.
I think we table it for now.
Yeah, we
We'll
table it for
We'll get a
now.
little more
I think we
information.
get some more
Table it.
information.
Yeah.
I think the other thing to look at would be to look, I don't know how hard this would be, David, but to look at, because you'd have to look at not just the applications that have come before us that this would have been added to, but also the applications that didn't come before us, that this would have been caught in this, how many, and I don't know if there's a way to see that, like,
That's more difficult.
yeah,
that
in
is
a
more-
given year, if, let's say there's, 300 applications to the building department, and we get 70 of them, how many out of that, what did I just say?
Were in the flood zone?
230 would have been in front of us, as well as the 70 that were. You know what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
because I can
Yeah.
see somebody in the town meeting saying,
Right.
what's going to be the real
Right.
impact? Is it,
Right.
you wouldn't have had anybody in the last year this would have impacted? Well, then why are
Well,
we doing it? But-
certainly in my mind, I'm thinking of 2 or 3 really notorious neighborhoods in town.
Yeah.
Which I think this might have more filings associated with. Again, I think the average, locations in town, and no, I don't think it's
Yeah.
gonna make any difference at all.
Right.
The other thing, not to reinvent the wheel, but we could consider proposing this not as a blanket 100 feet. Instead, say anything that's, because the town has mapped a 500-foot, well, FEMA has mapped 500-year flood zone as well as the 100-year. We don't talk about the 500-year map much. But a bigger brain could do the math. That flood once every 500 years is probably now once every, 200 years, which is going to be every 100 years and 30 years when these buildings are still there. we could reconsider a bylaw that says anything in that 500-foot flood zone, and I went through the town the other day, and it actually isn't that much. You know, it's an elevation question.
It's all elevation.
Yeah, but the 500-year floodplain, I thought it would cover like another third of the town from what the floodplain currently is, and it wasn't that much. I mean, it's your house and my house, but that's
Not
a
my
different
house.
story.
All
So
right.
that's another way
Yeah.
to skin the cat, that people would understand a little easier.
Yeah, yeah. Ally, you have
This
a-
might be a separate conversation, but from our side of the table, and I use the word restorative very loosely because we don't want to agitate anything, but have we looked at any restorative type of measures in terms of the wetlands to help mitigate the flooding in any way on our end? Obviously, we don't want to go stirring up everything, but obviously the water has to go somewhere.
Yep.
If it could be held in the wetlands and there's something that we could do about that to mitigate the
You
flooding.
could take 495 out. and Route
Sure.
3 out.
Take my house out.
That's right.
Well, I don't think you were on the commission, Ally, at the time, but the DPW has commissioned studies of 3 of the major watersheds in town. Areas where flooding has been a consistent problem, you know, they're notorious for flooding. And the consultant that has looked at those has come up with, I think, 3 options to try to address and mitigate the problems in all areas, you know, leading from very cheap and simple all the way up to the Cadillac
Do
solution.
you know how long ago that was?
Just a year and a half.
Yeah, I don't think the study ever has become public yet, so I don't know where
Actually,
that
the,
stands.
the old Westford Road project that we just approved
Yeah,
6 months ago
It's right in the
Yeah,
middle
that
of it.
was-
was right in the middle of
Right in the
that.
middle.
So it's
Yep.
in the last year.
yeah, and that's another example of where, I mean, they had to file anyway because they own the buffer zone, but that would have also been in the buffer zone of the 100-year floodplain. I don't think, it wouldn't have made a difference at all.
Right.
You know, in terms of whether, you know, the commission approved that or not.
All right, so,
Thank
so
you.
we'll table this for now. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank
Okay, so we'll table this for now. We'll go do some more research and homework. I would ask the members of the commission, of the subcommittee though, so I sent out a thing with meeting minutes. Did you guys get a chance to look at those? Because we should approve those, and then we can, I guess, say the subcommittee's over unless we're gonna keep doing some homework now.
Well, I think the commission should, or the subcommittee should hold open the possibility of meeting in the future, I think particularly to consider changes to the regulations.
Okay.
I think if the commission's gonna come back and make recommendations about regulation changes, I think that needs to be discussed at a meeting of the
All
subcommittee.
right, so then administratively though, can we close on those minutes now?
Yes.
On the minutes, yeah.
If you guys are okay?
Yeah, I looked at the minutes, they were fine.
Okay, then the 3 of us could vote and approve them, and then we can get that closed off.
Yeah, I moved to approve those minutes.
Okay, motion from Chris.
What are you approving?
This would be this,
The meeting minutes from the November 4th Subcommittee on Bylaws and Regulations, the November 4th meeting. So I need a second from Peter.
Second.
Second from Peter. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we'll send those in, submit them, and get to the town clerk's office and get them posted, and then we'll figure out the next steps.
So that was for a town meeting, but didn't you have some ideas for regulation changes? We're not gonna discuss that, or no?
There's a couple other things in the minutes that we talked about. Maybe that's another good reason we voted to keep the thing open. Trees soak up rainwater before it makes a flood. And there are a couple other things in here we talked about. For example, the meeting we had this week, Carl, with DPW, wasn't so much about flooding, but it was about how the town deals with increased rainfall. So there's a couple of other open-ended things that we thought probably could be addressed in our regulations. The tree thing is difficult because nobody wants to put limits on whether private landowners can cut trees, which is really,
Or requirements for restoring them when they do.
yeah, so that we're kind of the tree committee is actually struggling with that question along with our tree warden, Who's Christine Clancy.
But we talked about things like no new lawns within 50 feet.
Right.
The wetlands, as opposed to the 25 feet.
Right.
We're talking about new lawns now. Changing the fence exemption to say, but you can't take down any trees, for a new fence. Otherwise, the exemption applies. That sort of thing. A couple of other examples as well.
Okay.
We always strongly recommend that any trees that are cut down are put
Get well
back.
placed, yeah.
You don't think we can,
Well,
What's
we talked a little bit about, in lieu of a regulation requiring a one-for-one replanting of trees. What about a regulation requiring that they make a donation to a town replanting fund? Town council said, no, that's not legal. However, maybe it could be voluntary, that if someone said, well, make a contribution to the commission's land maintenance fund, something like that, that might be legal. Haven't gotten a final answer on that one yet.
didn't a couple of towns, I know I'm getting off the subject, but a couple of towns like Lexington have a tree warden that wouldn't let you cut a tree down unless you went through a,
Yeah, that was a problem with our town council's recommendation, not that I have any reason to doubt what he said to us, he or she said to us, but other towns have done this. You
Yeah.
wanna cut down a tree, kick in $500 to the tree
well,
fund.
I don't want, I just replace it.
But I think that's only in the town public right-of-way. I don't think that applies to
Just
private property.
limited to the right-of-way?
I believe so, yeah.
It isn't something
What
we
about
can,
Arlington?
we
What's
can
that?
enforce.
Arlington,
Maybe.
I think you
Yeah.
better check their tree regulation.
Well, yeah, the public right-of-way is a different conversation. Nobody wants to tell
But-
people what
but
to
can-
do with their
Can
land.
we, anything in the 100-foot buffer, require if a tree to come down, we can require them to replace it?
Yes, you can, but it's not always feasible. So you really need to have a disclaimer in there, a qualifying statement that says unless waived by the commission. You can say something like, it should be the policy of the commission to require one-to-one replanting of all trees taken down unless waived by the commission. Because it might not always be possible to do that. I mean, again, if you're dealing on a small lot, there just may not be a place to, replant trees.
We had that other situation up in North Chelmsford quite a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, that was kind of a physical hardship situation
Yeah.
that was a little different. Yeah, so you never know what comes along.
Yeah, I think some of that would be to say you can't do new lawns closer than 50 feet. I think that would satisfy some of that.
Okay. So we'll get some more discussion going on that.
Well, so I'll see what I can find out about other towns.
Other towns, yeah,
That have acted.
Okay.
I know one already, because I worked there.
right, okay. Land management, conservation site updates. Peter, Thanksgiving, I know we had.
Well, I told the snowmobile story. That was interesting.
Why don't you say it on the record, though? That was before the meeting.
Okay, yeah, so there are a couple quick things at Thanksgiving, they're minor. There were reports, apparently, somebody at Great Brook Park called,
DCR, yeah.
Yes.
yeah, he called David saying, hey, there's snowmobiles on the big 3,000 acre parcel and we tracked them to coming from Chelmsford. Do you know anything about it? So our land steward and allies
And neighbors, yeah.
realized it was a neighbor, and they actually went over and chatted. And Carl, you and David looked up our regs and answered the question, is it allowed? Snowmobiles are not. So that's happening, and then you all may have seen the,
And the neighbor who was the snowmobiler agreed, won't do that again, so,
yeah.
as far as we know,
Wasn't
understood.
there.
Message received is what we heard. So,
But the other interesting thing, you may have seen the video of a fisher animal exploring the new nesting box that was put up.
Oh.
And
no, I
Jeff
didn't
has
either.
sent around, I'll dig it out if you didn't see it, but pretty nice video of
Yeah.
a
Female,
creature. I don't know if he was in it or not. I don't-
she, I'm
She?
pretty sure he said it was a she,
Yeah.
and looking at a nest, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Wow.
So that's probably motivating for Jeff, who's volunteered for a similar project to do nesting boxes for wood ducks.
So the Fisher box is up now?
One of two is up.
One
The
of two.
weather has held us
I
from.
figured you, I didn't realize you didn't know that.
Yeah, one of two is up.
Yeah.
The one on the Great Brook side of Thanksgiving. The other one
Yeah.
that's on the Janet Road entrance side is not.
Yeah.
It's near the tree is what Jeff said, but it's not up. We just haven't got a crew over there to do
Yeah.
it, so. Jeff's gonna make, I think he said 7 of those wood duck boxes.
Well, he and I
Of which he'll do-
started with 3, and then it turned into 4.
He's gonna do 4 right there at Thanksgiving, and because he got the wood from Warren Pole, because we
Oh.
had this old wood that had been stored in the barn that we were getting ready to throw out, we said, this is kinda nice wood. So we kept it there for the last, year or two.
Oh.
And Jeff's got it, and he's going to turn that into these wood duck boxes. And because he's got enough, he's gonna do one, we'll put one up at Warren Pole, we'll put one up, I think we could put one up at the Cranberry Bog, and we could put one up at Crooked Spring.
Good.
Because Crooked Spring has, has a nice wet brook area, and I think we could put a wood duck thing. Warren Pole, I remember seeing wood ducks in the back, at one point, so.
When, you mean when the beaver pond was there?
Yeah, yeah, but if we put it near the brook, I think, what does it hurt?
Yeah.
What does it hurt?
Yeah,
So,
in the brook. They
Yeah,
need to
yeah,
drop
yeah,
into
yeah.
water.
so,
Okay, thank you.
Ally, have you been over to Lime Quarry?
A lot of snow,
Yeah,
not much going on
Yeah.
that I'm aware of.
okay.
Crooked Spring, I got out there about 10 days ago before the snow came down. So at that point, the trails were actually great. The ice had cleared out, and so you could really walk around most of the trails without, slipping and breaking something. So it was looking nice out there.
Yeah.
And the pond had iced over, actually, the pond had iced over fairly well.
Yep.
But now with the snow,
I think somebody had, look, I was there at one point, it looked like somebody had shoveled it.
I think so.
Yeah.
It looked like it. So maybe
Probably not
outdoor,
again.
maybe outdoor skating has returned
Yeah, we'll see.
there. But, other than that, actually, it's pretty good. It's gonna be, I might try my cross-country skis out there with all the snow now and try some of the trails out there. It looks looking good.
Well, you mark anything at
No, nothing. I went by there yesterday morning. It was already plowed out.
Red Wing, Red Wing.
Yeah, Red Wing. It's amazing.
They-
They're right there.
the DPW's done a great job
Yeah.
taking care of our parking lots, yeah.
Nothing going on here. There was no tracks or anything from skiers or nothing, but
Okay.
I didn't see any.
Anything, Bill?
Last week, we went before CPC to get funding for guardrail and fencing around the vernal pool buffer zone, and we got approved for Coolest. And we got approved for 13,900, more or less.
How much?
13,940.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
Subject to verification that that is the proper amount.
Yeah, yeah. That's like the worst case, I'm
Yes.
pretty sure, yeah.
Right. So that got approved, so we're happy about that.
And they're gonna start tomorrow, right? No.
Yeah. I've seen people up at, believe it or not, cross-country skiing up at Coolest. So,
Nice.
see more people all the time up there using the trails, so.
Good,
I
good.
mean, not
Awesome.
today, but
Sledding?
there's been sledding, yeah,
It has been, yeah.
yeah.
Must have been.
I've
the
seen
snow.
sledding at Crooked Spring. That's got the deep hill. to
That's
see.
got that great hill. My kids would always sled
Yeah,
that. when,
Yeah, that's a,
That's a really like kamikaze, it's like a vertical cliff.
I've seen sledding at Warren Pole too. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was some kids sledding at Warren Pole, so we have a few places. Yeah, the coolest has been busy.
Yep. That's about
And
it.
That's it at Oak Hill and Deep Brook, I think, too, right?
Yeah, nothing new on that.
John, anything at Wrestle Mill?
Yeah, they built a snowman in the middle of the pond. A big snowman out in the middle of the pond.
Isn't that a little risky?
No, the pond's froze.
Oh, it's thick enough? The ice is thick?
Oh, yeah,
Really?
yeah, oh, yeah.
Did you drive out there, John?
Would I drive out there? I wouldn't walk out
They've
there.
been doing ice, they've had ice fishing out of Freeman Lake. I know, I've seen them out doing the ice fishing out of
pretty
Freeman
thick.
Lake.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
Wanda
the
sent a
pond at my
note.
house
Wanda
isn't
said
froze.
her
One
family's
section
been
was
out
still
there
open.
and she saw the bald eagle and, you know.
The
But
bald
no
eagle.
pond, they built a nice snowman out there, and
So I'll
Nice.
say that the Cranberry Bog, I haven't been out there in a while, a couple of weeks. I'm sure it gets a lot of traffic even in the snow. I'm sure it's getting some visitors. I have not been to Wright in a couple of weeks also. We were at Warren Pole, was that 2 weeks ago? We were there Saturday the 17th, week and a half ago. It was just the crew that's doing this interpretive signage project, and we did a walk around, had some good discussions and good ideas, and it was good. It was a good Saturday walk. We were there for a good hour, 2 hours, something like that. Yeah, it was good. So, moving along.
I want to talk to those guys when they're done over there so that we can kind of do the same thing at Coolest.
Yeah, yeah,
The
and
invasives,
other sites.
Bill?
Pardon me?
The invasive crew?
No, this is the sign.
The sign.
Oh, the signage,
Interpretive
yeah,
signage. Yeah, we should have I could see doing a couple signs at Cranberry Bog, just, I know
Keep 'em
Mark doesn't
consistent,
like a
too.
lot of signs, but these are like, informative and,
Yeah.
nice looking, discreet.
Put them in the ground, like,
Yeah. All right,
Put 'em on
then,
the kiosk,
not on the key, no, this would be
behind
like.
the glass on the kiosk.
These would be signs that you'd have at certain places,
Oh.
like to describe, hey, this is, this.
Vernal pool.
This vernal pool, and this is why a vernal pool is interesting and important, or something,
Yeah, yeah.
that kind of
Yeah,
thing.
not-
Willow tree, show out the willow tree. stuff like
with a beaver.
that.
David, anything on agent's report?
I was just
Am I
gonna
taking
say,
this serious?
making progress on the commission's webpage, and improvements to that. Got the Thanksgiving, Forest webpage, has been published. Jeff Boughton really likes it, and says it's a really good job, so check that out when you have a chance. I think it's going to become the model for all of the reservation, web pages. So I think maybe the one that I'll start working on next is Warren Pole.
Yep.
So, because we already have a lot of information on that. And then there's also now a link to reservation news and announcements, reservation news and updates. That's where, things like Fisher boxes and like the fence at Coolest, be able to put, reports there and like videos and photos as well. So I think that's going along well. I mean, it's always a little slower than you like it, but have made some good progress recently on that. So check it out when you have a chance. Then just the only other thing I wanted to report is that we finally got the superseding order of conditions on Freeman Lake. So DEP essentially just reissued the commission's order of conditions. They did include one additional, which was to hire the town has to hire an environmental monitor to oversee and monitor the actual application of the herbicides. So we'll wait and see if the appellants now try to go to the next level of appeal within DEP. It's called an adjudicatory hearing. So they have, let me see, the superseding order was issued on January 20th. They have 10 business days to appeal. So they're going to have to appeal, I think by Monday or Tuesday of next week if they decide to go to the next level. We'll see.
Okay.
Was that-
Yeah, go ahead.
Was there anything gained by the harvesting of the vegetation out there?
I
Maybe
guess not.
knowledge.
I guess not, because DBW is not going to do the eco harvesting again. That was for the, wasn't the water chestnut.
Milfoil.
Yeah, I guess it was the milfoil. So they felt they got nothing out of that. That it just fragmented it further. And of course, the proponents of the eco harvesting completely disagree. But DBW's made the decision they're not going to do the eco harvesting again. So it's all herbiciding from here on in.
But I learned a little bit about gardening. When you garden and you pull the weeds out, all you're doing is making easier for new weeds to come in. And that's pretty much what it's doing, wasn't it?
But that seemed to be the consensus, yes.
Well,
There
there's
was some of the weeds, I think, when the plants, when they pulled them, they fragment, and the fragments can replant.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the big
Right.
difference from
Yeah.
your garden.
Yeah, some things in
The milfoil, the
Yeah.
different plants act different. The milfoil, the long stringy things.
Yeah, no,
Apparently, little chunks just root, and if they get caught up in the water and migrate, and my understanding is that the Eco Harvester had some sort of curtain thingy arrangement to try to prevent that, but
It just ended up.
nobody's measuring what's happening, so it's,
Yeah, again, apparently, the opinion was that it was counterproductive, really.
Okay.
All right, so we don't have the meeting minutes from January 13th, I don't think.
Not yet.
So, not yet, okay, so we can't
Almost
approve
done.
those. So I'll take a motion to close the hearing,
I move to adjourn.
to close the meeting.
second.
Motion from Chris, second from Peter, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thanks.